Begin your journey not with a sunrise, but with a rumbling of creation. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel where we dive deep into the most fascinating corners of ancient mythology. Today, we're stepping into the fiery heart of the Aztec cosmos to explore the incredible stories surrounding Tonatiuh, the sun god, and the epic cycles of creation and destruction known as the Five Suns. Get ready for 30 tales that are as vibrant and dramatic as the Aztec world itself. We'll uncover myths of sacrifice, cosmic battles, and the relentless struggle for existence. Stick around because this is one journey you don't want to miss. This video will guide you through each of the five suns and the many legendary stories connected to the powerful Tonatiuh. Alright, so let's talk about the very first attempt at creation in Aztec cosmology, the first sun, known as Oslotl or Ford Jaguar. Imagine a world populated not by people like us but by towering giants. That's what this initial age was like. Now, ruling over this colossal world was the powerful and often capricious god Tezcatlipoca, whose name means smoking mirror. He was associated with the night, sorcery, and conflict. This era is often called the Age of Jaguars, and for good reason. Tezcatlipoca, in a divine act of destruction, transformed into a massive jaguar. Under his guidance, hordes of jaguars descended upon this world of giants, devouring everything in their path. This wasn't just an attack, it was a complete consumption, a violent undoing of existence itself, bringing the Age of Jaguars to a terrifying and definitive close. This dramatic beginning immediately introduces us to the Aztec idea of cosmic cycles, that creation is often followed by cataclysm, a pattern we'll see repeat. When you look at Aztec art depicting this period, you often see powerful jaguars, sometimes shown with human limbs or other symbols of consumption, reflecting the brutal ending of this initial age. The imagery is stark and powerful, giving you a real sense of the raw, untamed energy of this first creation governed by the fierce feline deity. Now, the god who reigned over this first sun wasn't just powerful, he was a shape-shifter, a weaver of fate, and a master of illusions. Tezcatlipoca, the smoking mirror, had a truly complex nature. Think of him as the ultimate trickster. He wasn't just about destruction. He also held sway over destiny, often capriciously altering the paths of both gods and mortals. His very name, Smoking Mirror, hints at his ability to see the future, but perhaps also to obfuscate or distort it. This era was deeply marked by his influence, a time of raw power and unpredictable change. A key element in the drama of the first sun was the intense rivalry between Tezcatlipoca and his brother, Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent. While Tezcatlipoca embodied night and material power, Quetzalcoatl represented light, knowledge, and wind. This cosmic opposition between them wasn't just personal, it was a fundamental tension in the Aztec worldview, a push and pull between opposing forces. Tezcatlipoca managed to take on the role of the sun during this age, but his sun wasn't life-giving in the same way later suns would be. It was a harsh, dominant force, reflecting his own fierce and consuming personality. This is why his reign as the sun was destined not to last. It lacked the balance and sustenance needed for true creation. His symbolic animal, the jaguar, perfectly reflects his nature, powerful, predatory, and associated with the night and the underworld. And that obsidian mirror, it wasn't just a tool for scrying. It was said to be able to reveal truths while also being a source of sorcery and illusion. A perfect symbol for the complex and often deceptive god who brought the first sun to its dramatic and cataclysmic conclusion. Emerging from the chaos of the first sun, the Aztec cosmos embarked on its second grand experiment, the second sun, known as Teotihuacan or Four Wind. Imagine a world bathed in the light of a different sun, a sun governed by a benevolent deity. This age was presided over by Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent, the god of wind, knowledge, and light, and the very antithesis to the jaguar like Tezcatlipoca who came before him. Unlike the harsh rule of the smoking mirror, Quetzalcoatl's reign was characterized by his paternal nature and his desire to nurture creation. The beings who populated this age weren't giants, but humanity in a different form, said to have been created or transformed from monkeys. This era is aptly named the Age of Wind because of the cataclysm that brought it to a dramatic end. According to the myths, a massive hurricane, a cosmic wind of unimaginable force, swept across the land. This wasn't just a storm, it was a divine breath that tore through existence, transforming the remaining inhabitants into monkeys and scattering them across the earth. If you look at Aztec imagery related to Quetzalcoatl, you'll often see swirling wind motifs and feathered serpents, symbols intrinsically linked to this powerful, yet ultimately destructive, force of nature that closed out the second sun. While Quetzalcoatl was a gentler ruler than Tezcatlipoca, even his power couldn't prevent the cyclical destruction inherent in the Aztec cosmos. His rule, though marked by knowledge and light, still succumbed to the inevitable cosmic reset. Some scholars believe that the circular structures found in certain Aztec archaeological sites, like the Temple of Quetzalcoatl at Teotihuacan, may symbolically represent the wind and the cyclical nature of this era. This architectural connection offers a fascinating glimpse into how the Aztecs may have memorialized the Age of Wind and the deity who governed it, even as the world he oversaw was tragically undone by the very element he commanded. Quetzalcoatl, the gentle feathered serpent, truly attempted to build a different kind of world under his second sun. Imagine a time when the sun itself was symbolized by wind, a force that can bring life to sails or uproot trees. His reign wasn't marked by the predatory fear of the jaguar, but by a paternal guidance. He sought to create a more harmonious existence, perhaps hoping to correct the violent imbalance left behind by the age of Tezcatlipoca. The beings who populated this world weren't devoured, they were transformed. This transformation into monkeys is more than just a change of form. It's deeply symbolic in Aztec mythology. It represents a regression, a loss of the elevated human form, a step down the evolutionary ladder. It shows that even under a benevolent sun, creation wasn't stable. It could revert, devolve, or be swept away entirely. The very element Quetzalcoatl commanded, wind, became the instrument of this age's end. The cosmic hurricane wasn't just a natural disaster. It was a divine force, perhaps a consequence of past cosmic conflicts or an inherent instability within reality itself. The feathered serpent is such a potent symbol because it combines earthly and celestial elements. The serpent represents the earth and transformation, while the feathers connect him to the sky, wind, and divine breath. This duality perfectly encapsulates Quetzalcoatl's role as both a creator and a force of nature who, despite his best intentions, couldn't prevent the cyclical destruction. His association with wind emphasizes its dual nature, life-giving breath and devastating storm, a paradox that tragically defined the end of the Age of Wind. Straight after the wind scattered the monkey people, the Aztec cosmos tried again with the third sun, Teotihuacan, or fore-rain. Now, imagine a world where the sun's power is linked directly to water, specifically rain. This age was under the dominion of Tlaloc, the powerful rain god. Tlaloc is a fascinating figure. He's the god of life-giving rain, the one who nourishes the crops and brings prosperity. But, and this is a crucial point, he's also the god of terrifying storms, of thunder, lightning, and devastating floods. His reign over the third sun reflected this duality, promising sustenance but also holding the potential for immense destruction. And destruction is exactly what came. This age, fittingly called the Age of Rain of Fire, ended in a terrifying celestial downpour unlike anything that came before. The sky didn't unleash water this time, but fire. Imagine searing embers and burning rocks raining down from above, consuming everything they touched. This fiery cataclysm turned the inhabitants of this world into turkeys. It's a strange transformation, isn't it, from humans to birds, but it fits within the Aztec pattern of humanity being remade or transformed after each cosmic collapse. This dramatic end replaces the watery destruction of the previous age with a fiery one, showing the unpredictable nature of the cosmic cycles and the varied methods of divine reset. It makes you wonder if this myth was inspired by real events, perhaps a volcanic eruption or a meteor shower so intense it seemed like the sky itself was on fire. The Aztecs observed the world around them closely, and it's possible that geological or astronomical phenomena played a part in shaping these powerful creation and destruction stories. The terrifying image of a rain of fire feels incredibly potent, and it highlights that even a god associated with life-giving forces like rain possesses a destructive side, capable of bringing about an age of fiery annihilation. So why did Tlaloc, the god of life-giving rain, unleash a devastating fire from the sky? It seems contradictory, doesn't it? One theory points to the nature of Tlaloc himself. As we mentioned, he wasn't just gentle rain, he was also thunder and lightning, the destructive power of storms. Perhaps this cataclysm was simply an expression of his darker, more volatile side, an inherent part of his divine nature that manifested as fiery wrath. Another idea suggests it was a consequence of human actions during that age. Were they disrespectful? Did they fail to offer the proper reverence or sacrifices to sustain his benevolent aspect? Aztec mythology often links human behavior to divine response, and it's plausible that the inhabitants of the third sun somehow angered the rain god, triggering his fiery reprisal. A third perspective considers the possibility of divine conflict, a lingering tension from previous ages or challenges posed by other gods that somehow destabilized Tlaloc's reign. It could be that the cosmic balance was simply off during this particular creation, making it inherently unstable and prone to such a dramatic collapse. Regardless of the specific cause, the outcome was clear. The beings of the third sun were transformed into turkeys. Think about what that might symbolize. From humans who built and worshipped to birds that scratch the earth and are hunted, it feels like a significant degradation, a loss of status and potential. It speaks to the Aztec belief that failure in one age could lead to a lesser form of existence in the next. And how did the Aztecs try to manage Tlaloc's immense power in their own time? They built magnificent temples dedicated to him, often at high altitudes closer to the clouds and the source of rain. They offered precious sacrifices, sometimes tragically including children, believed to be pure and therefore highly valued by the rain god. These elaborate rituals and offerings were attempts to appease his potentially destructive nature and ensure the life-giving rains that sustained their agriculture and their very existence. The magnificent ruins of the Templo Mayor in Tenochtitlan, with its twin shrines, one dedicated to Tlaloc, bear witness to the vital importance and the terrifying power of the rain god in Aztec life, a constant reminder of the delicate balance between his nourishing embrace and his fiery wrath, as seen in the end of the third sun. Rising from the ashes of the fiery rain, the Aztec world found itself entering the fourth sun, known as Noy-Atl or Four Water. Now, imagine a world under the gentle yet formidable gaze of a goddess whose name means jade skirt. This age was ruled by Chalchiuhtlicue, the goddess of lakes, rivers, and the sea. She embodies the nurturing, life-giving aspects of water, the source of sustenance and purity. Unlike the volatile Tlaloc or the fierce Tezcatlipoca, Chalchiuhtlicue is often depicted with a serene beauty, adorned with jade, a stone precious to the Aztecs and associated with water and fertility. However, like all the Aztec deities, her power had a dual nature. Water, while life-giving, can also be a force of overwhelming destruction, and that is precisely how this fourth age met its end. According to the myths, this sun was consumed by a massive, relentless flood. The waters rose, covering mountains and drowning everything in their path. It was a complete submersion, a watery purge that washed away the existing world. the inhabitants of this age, unable to survive the deluge, were transformed into fish. This transformation feels particularly poignant from land-dwelling beings to creatures of the deep, a complete shift in existence dictated by the very element that marked their age. Water held immense significance in Aztec life and religion. It was essential for agriculture, for drinking, for ritual purification. Yet they also knew its destructive power through floods and storms. This duality is perfectly embodied by Chalchiuhtlicue and the end of her son. The idea of a great flood is a theme that resonates across many cultures and mythologies worldwide, from Mesopotamia to ancient Greece, suggesting a shared human experience or perhaps a very ancient memory of a global cataclysm transmitted through oral traditions. This watery apocalypse in the Aztec narrative speaks to a universal fear of being overwhelmed by nature's power, but perhaps also to a symbolic cleansing, a way for the cosmos to wipe the slate clean before attempting creation once more. The ruins of ancient Aztec cities like Tenochtitlan, built on a lake, are a testament to their complex relationship with water, a source of life and defense, but also a potential threat. Their ceremonies for Chalchiuhtlicue often involved water, highlighting their deep respect and perhaps a touch of fear for the formidable power held by the goddess of the jade skirt. But how did this mighty flood come about? The myths offer several possibilities surrounding Chalchiuhtlicue's role in the watery destruction of the fourth sun. One story suggests her sorrow was the cause. Perhaps she grieved for the imperfections of the age under her rule, or for the impending fate she knew was inevitable. Her tears, immense and unstoppable, are said to have swelled the rivers and lakes until they overflowed, leading to the devastating inundation. It's a poignant image, a goddess whose deep emotion literally reshapes the world. Another version hints at her anger. Was she displeased with the inhabitants of her sun? Did they disrespect her or the life-giving waters she represented? Divine wrath was a common theme in Aztec cosmology, and the flood could be interpreted as her furious response to human transgression. Regardless of whether it was sorrow or anger, her powerful emotions became the very engine of this age's demise. Now, across many flood myths, there's often a theme of survival, of a small spark of humanity preserved to continue the lineage. In some Aztec accounts of the fourth sun's end, it is said a single couple survived the deluge, sometimes attributed to a god's warning or intervention, possibly from Tezcatlipoca or Quetzalcoatl, who, despite their rivalries, sometimes offered cryptic guidance. They drifted on a makeshift boat until the waters receded, becoming the progenitors of the new age. Their survival is crucial. It represents the resilience of life, the possibility of starting anew even after total destruction. And what about jade? This beautiful green stone held immense significance for the Aztecs. It was more precious than gold, associated with water, fertility, and royalty. Chalchiuhtlicue's name, she of the jade skirt, directly links her to this valuable stone, symbolizing her purity, her connection to life-giving water, and her status as a powerful deity. The jade worn by rulers and used in rituals wasn't just decorative. It carried deep symbolic weight, connecting the wearer or the offering to the life force represented by the goddess of water and the potential for renewal, even after a world had been submerged. Rising from the watery depths and the transformations of the past, we arrive at our own time, the fifth sun, known as Noi Olin or Four Movement. This is the age we inhabit, the current iteration of the Aztec cosmos, and it is presided over by the powerful deity Tonatiuh. You see him depicted on the famous Aztec calendar stone, a solar face in the center, often with his tongue extended, symbolizing the need for blood sacrifice. This age is not defined by a static element like fire or water, but by movement. The Aztecs believed this sun endures because it is constantly in motion, a vibrant, energetic force. However, this dynamism comes with a prophecy. This age is fated to end not by drowning or fire, but by immense, world-shattering earthquakes. Imagine the ground beneath your feet turning against you, swallowing cities whole, a terrifying but inevitable conclusion according to Aztec belief. The very movement that sustains this sun is also the force that will eventually bring about its destruction. What makes Tonatiuh's reign unique is how he actually became the sun. Unlike gods who inherited the role, Tonatiuh ascended through a dramatic and perilous act of self-sacrifice, which we'll delve into shortly. This wasn't a guaranteed position. It required immense courage and a willingness to give everything. This backstory underscores the precariousness of our current age. It wasn't easily won, and it isn't seen as permanent. The Aztecs lived with the constant awareness that their world, the fifth sun, was temporary, destined for eventual collapse. This understanding deeply influenced their worldview and rituals. To them, the sun's journey across the sky wasn't just a natural phenomenon. It was a daily battle against the forces of darkness, a struggle that required sustenance. And this sustenance, they believed, came in the form of human sacrifice. The sun needed nourishment, specifically hearts and blood, to continue its arduous journey and prevent the prophesied earthquakes that would bring about the end of the fifth sun. This belief in the necessity of sacrifice is central to understanding the Aztec relationship with Tonatiuh and their fears about the fragility of their world. So, how exactly did Tonatiuh, our current sun, come to be? It's a tale of divine sacrifice and cosmic consequence. Imagine a gathering of the gods, a divine council at the ancient city of Teotihuacan, the place where gods are made. Darkness still covered the world after the end of the fourth sun. They needed a new sun to illuminate the sky, a new era to begin. The call went out, who among them would sacrifice themselves to become the next sun. It was a terrifying prospect, demanding the ultimate act of self-immolation. Several gods were present, but two figures stand out in this pivotal moment. First, there was Tezcatlipoca, whose name means Lord of the Sea Snail. He was a wealthy and proud deity, adorned with precious jewels and fine feathers. He confidently volunteered, believing his status and riches made him the obvious choice. Then there was Tlaloc, a humble and unassuming god, afflicted with boils and considered less significant than the others. Despite his frail appearance, it was he who bravely stepped forward and offered himself, driven perhaps by a quiet courage or a sense of cosmic duty. Preparations were made, a massive pyre was built, a sacred fire roaring intensely. The moment arrived for the sacrifice. The proud Tezcatlipoca, despite his earlier boasts, hesitated. He approached the fire multiple times, but the heat and the sheer terror of the act caused him to recoil. He simply could not bring himself to leap into the flames. But then, the humble Tlaloc, without hesitation, ran and threw himself into the heart of the blazing inferno. His sacrifice was complete. Seeing Tlaloc's courage, Tezcatlipoca, shamed by his own fear, finally found the resolve to follow, although it was a hesitant jump into the fire's dying embers. And so, from the ashes, two celestial bodies arose. Tlaloc, through his pure and selfless sacrifice, became Tonatiuh, the magnificent fifth sun, radiating bright and powerful light. Tezcatlipoca, who hesitated and jumped into the less intense flames, became Metzli, the moon, his light dimmer, marked by his moment of fear. This myth is incredibly rich with symbolism, highlighting the Aztec reverence for sacrifice and humility. It teaches that true worth isn't found in status or riches, but in courage and the willingness to give everything for the greater good. The scarred, humble god became the life-giving sun, while the proud, adorned god became the secondary light of the night. It's a powerful origin story, explaining not only the birth of our sun and moon, but also embedding deep moral lessons about the qualities valued by the Aztec people. Imagine the scene at Teotihuacan, shrouded in the primordial darkness before the fifth sun. The magnificent pyramids stood silent witnesses, the air thick with anticipation and the scent of copal incense. This wasn't just a theoretical discussion amongst deities. This was a moment of immense cosmic consequence. The very existence of the next world hinged on this single, terrifying act. The gods gathered, their forms illuminated only by the flickering light of the colossal pyre that had been built. The heat emanating from the flames was unimaginable, a test of divine will and physical endurance. Each god knew what was required to cast themselves into that inferno, to be consumed and reborn as the sun. The silence was heavy, broken only by the roar of the fire. When the call came for volunteers, there was a palpable tension in the air. The gods looked at each other, weighing the cost, the pain, and the uncertainty of what lay beyond the flames. It was an act of utter surrender, a leap of faith into the unknown. Seeing the hesitation amongst many, the contrast between the boastful Tezcatlipoca and the unassuming Tlaloc became starkly apparent. While the Lord of the Sea Snail, despite his grand pronouncements, faltered at the edge of the scorching heat, his jeweled robes a stark counterpoint to his inner fear, Tlaloc, the humble, boil-ridden god, simply walked forward. The other gods watched in stunned silence as he approached the pyre with quiet determination. There were no fanfares, no boasts, just the steady steps of a deity accepting his fate. His jump into the fire wasn't a violent spectacle. It was a profound act of self-giving, a testament to courage that transcended physical appearance. The reaction amongst the other gods must have been a mixture of awe, shame, and perhaps even relief that someone had finally taken the terrifying plunge. Tezcatlipoca's subsequent hesitant jump, spurred by Tlaloc's bravery and his own embarrassment, was a far cry from the selfless act he had just witnessed. He leaped, but not with the same conviction, entering the less intense part of the fire as it began to subside. The archaeological site of Teotihuacan itself holds a deep connection to this myth. Its massive pyramids, particularly the pyramids of the sun and moon, are often seen as symbolic representations of these celestial bodies and the creation myths associated with them. Standing at the base of the Pyramid of the Sun, it's easy to imagine this very scene unfolding, the scale of the architecture mirroring the grandeur of the cosmic event. The city's layout and structures seem to be deliberately aligned with astronomical events, further suggesting its role as a sacred center where the movements of the cosmos and the actions of the gods were deeply intertwined, making it the perfect stage for the dramatic birth of our current sun. The enduring presence of Teotihuacan serves as a tangible link to this pivotal creation story, reminding us of the immense power and sacrifice that the Aztecs believed brought light to their world. With the fifth sun, Tonatiuh, finally illuminating the sky, the question for the Aztecs became, how do we keep him there? Unlike the previous suns that ended in cataclysm, the fate of Noi Olan for movement rested on a delicate balance, a constant effort to sustain the sun's energy. The Aztec worldview held a profound belief: the sun, this incredible source of light and warmth that made life possible, wasn't self-sufficient. It was engaged in a perpetual struggle across the sky, battling the forces of darkness each dawn and dusk. To win this fight, to make sure Tonatiuh completed his journey day after day and held off the prophesied earthquake that would signal the end of their world, the sun needed sustenance. And that sustenance in their belief system was blood, specifically human blood, seen as the most potent form of life force. This is where the practice of human sacrifice connects directly to the survival of the cosmos. It wasn't simply about appeasing a bloodthirsty god. It was viewed as a vital cosmic duty, a necessary act to fuel the sun and prevent the end of the world. The rituals surrounding human sacrifice were incredibly complex and deeply embedded in Aztec society. They weren't random acts of cruelty, but highly ritualized ceremonies performed on sacred spaces like the Templo Mayor. The person being sacrificed was often seen as a messenger to the gods, an offering of the most precious commodity, life itself, to ensure the continuation of life for the wider community. Think of it this way: in their eyes, they were literally feeding the sun, giving it the energy it needed to move, to fight, to keep the fifth sun shining. This fundamental belief underscores how central the sun was to every aspect of Aztec life and how deeply they felt their responsibility was in maintaining the cosmic order, even at such a high cost. If you've ever seen an image representing Aztec culture, chances are you've seen the awe-inspiring monument known as the Sunstone, or in Spanish, the Piedra del Sol. This isn't just a piece of art, it's a condensed map of the Aztec universe, a visual testament to their understanding of time, creation, and destruction. Imagine a massive circular sculpture 12 feet in diameter and weighing over 24 tons, covered in intricate carvings, discovered in Mexico City in 1790, buried beneath the main plaza. It's now one of the most prized artifacts in the National Museum of Anthropology. At the very heart of this stone is the fierce face of Tonatiuh, our current sun god, his tongue extended, sometimes interpreted as a knife requesting blood, or perhaps a symbol of his life-giving rays. Surrounding him are concentric circles of symbols, each layer telling a part of the Aztec story. The most prominent of these outer rings depict the glyphs of the 4 previous suns: 4 jaguar, 4 wind, 4 rain, and 4 water, positioned around Tonatiuh's central image, visually placing our current age within the grand cycle of creation and destruction we've been discussing. It's a powerful visual reminder that the Aztecs saw their world as the 5th in a series of cosmic experiments, the radial patterns extending outward from the center. They likely represent the sun's rays emanating power and life, but perhaps also the passage of time or the reach of the Aztec Empire itself. The exact purpose of the Sunstone has been a subject of intense debate among scholars for centuries. Was it primarily a calendar, a highly sophisticated instrument for tracking time and astronomical events? The stone does contain numerous calendrical signs, including the day signs and the names of the 20-day periods that made up the Aztec month, suggesting a strong connection to their complex calendar system. Or was it more of a religious monument, a massive altar or offering stone dedicated to Tonatiuh and his cosmic significance? Some interpretations see it as a sacrificial stone, given Tonatiuh's connection to human sacrifice and the depiction of his tongue. Perhaps it was both a calendrical device used in religious ceremonies, a tool to understand time that was also an object of worship and ritual. Regardless of its precise function, the Sunstone is undeniably a profound representation of the Aztec worldview, illustrating their cyclical understanding of history and their deep connection to the sun and its divine ruler. Its sheer size and intricate detail speak volumes about the importance of this stone and the cosmic concepts it embodies to the Aztec civilization. Looking at it today, it's impossible not to feel a sense of awe at the complexity of their thought and the skill of their artisans who carved this enduring masterpiece. So, what did Tonatiuh actually look like to the Aztecs? When you examine their ancient texts and artwork known as codices, a powerful image emerges. Tonatiuh is almost always depicted with a fiery intensity, his face radiating light, often shown with rays extending outward like sunbeams. His skin might be painted red or adorned with gold, symbolizing the blazing heat of the sun. He's a warrior god, and his iconography reflects that. You often see him holding a shield representing protection and arrows or darts, symbolizing his power and the sun's penetrating rays that provide life but also bring heat. His eyes are often depicted as round and staring, fixed on the world below, a watchful, ever-present deity. One of the most striking features is often his extended tongue or a sacrificial knife protruding from his mouth, a direct visual reference to the need for offerings to sustain him. Tonatiuh's connection to the eagle is profound and visually represented throughout Aztec art. The eagle wasn't just any bird, it was seen as the noble creature that soared highest, closest to the sun. The Aztecs believed the eagle was the sun's companion, accompanying it on its daily journey across the sky, carrying it from dawn till dusk. This association linked the power and majesty of the eagle to the divine might of Tonatiuh. You'll frequently find eagles depicted alongside the sun disk or as symbols on objects associated with the sun god. This visual pairing reinforced the idea of the sun's powerful flight and its dominance over the celestial realm. Beyond the fire and the eagle, other symbols are deeply intertwined with Tonatiuh. The butterfly, often seen fluttering in sun-drenched gardens, was another creature linked to the sun, perhaps symbolizing transformation, warmth, and the fleeting beauty of sunlit life. Quetzal feathers, vibrant and iridescent green, were highly prized and associated with divine beings and royalty. Their connection to Tonatiuh might represent his elevated status, his beauty, and the preciousness of the light he provides. Think of the dazzling colors of a Quetzal against a bright sky, a perfect visual echo of the sun's brilliance. These symbols weren't just decorative, they were packed with meaning, offering insights into the Aztec perception of Tonatiuh's nature, his power, and his vital role in their cosmos. Every feather, every color, every accompanying creature told a part of the story of the fiery god who held their world in his hands. But Tonatiuh's work wasn't done when he set in the west. The Aztecs believed the sun didn't just disappear at night. It embarked on a perilous journey through Mictlan, the dark and challenging underworld. Imagine the sun, this fiery, life-giving force, descending into a realm of shadow and death, a place ruled by Tezcatlipoca and Tlaloc, the Lord and Lady of the Dead. This nightly passage wasn't a peaceful rest. It was a brutal battle against the forces of darkness, a struggle for survival that determined whether the sun would rise again, bringing light and warmth back to the world. The underworld itself was depicted as a complex place, often described as having 9 distinct levels, each presenting its own unique horrors and obstacles. As Tonatiuh traveled deeper into Mictlan, he would have faced freezing winds, jagged mountains of obsidian, and rivers of blood, constantly battling the spirits of the dead and the demons of the night. This nightly descent and subsequent ascent through the underworld is a powerful metaphor for death and rebirth, a fundamental cycle in Aztec thought. Each sunrise was a victory, a testament to Tonatiuh's strength and resilience in overcoming the darkness of Mictlan. It shows that even the most powerful deity had to confront death and emerge victorious to ensure the continuation of life. This continuous cycle of death and rebirth, mirrored in the daily journey of the sun, was deeply embedded in the Aztec understanding of the cosmos. Now, while Tonatiuh's journey through the underworld was a solitary struggle, he wasn't entirely alone in the heavens. The Aztecs held a unique belief about certain individuals who achieved a special kind of afterlife, one intrinsically linked to the sun itself. Imagine 2 distinct groups granted the immense honor of accompanying the deity who brought light to their world. These were the brave male warriors who fell in battle and the courageous women who died in childbirth. In the Aztec cosmos, both were seen as warriors. The men fought on the literal battlefield, defending their communities and expanding the empire. The women, though not wielding weapons in the traditional sense, faced their own life or death struggle in the act of creation, a battle equally revered for its inherent danger and the potential for new life. For these souls, death was not a descent into the cold, dark underworld of Mictlan. Instead, they were believed to join Tonatiuh on parts of his daily celestial journey. The fallen warriors, known as Quetzalcoatl, which roughly translates to eagle people, were said to ascend to the eastern sky, meeting the sun as it rose each morning. They would accompany him for the first half of his journey, from dawn until he reached his zenith at noon. Imagine these souls, glorified and empowered by their brave deaths, marching alongside the solar deity, their presence adding to his strength and ensuring his triumphant progress. This eastern paradise, a place of light and glory, was essentially a warrior's heaven, a reward for their courage and sacrifice. It wasn't a place of passive rest but an active participation in the cosmic cycle, a continuation of their fight on a celestial plane. The rituals surrounding a warrior's death were fittingly elaborate, often involving cremation and ceremonies designed to help their souls join the solar procession. Their armor, weapons, and even captive sacrifices might accompany them, symbols of their earthly life and their continued service to the sun god. This belief provided immense motivation for Aztec warriors, transforming the fear of death into a potential path to divine companionship and eternal glory alongside the mighty Tonatiuh. Beyond his journeys through the sky and the underworld, Tonatiuh was utterly central to the very structure of time for the Aztecs. Imagine a calendar not just for tracking days and months, but as a dynamic map of cosmic energies, influencing everything from planting crops to declaring war. Tonatiuh was the engine of this system, particularly within the Tlaloc, the sacred 260-day ritual calendar. This calendar wasn't based on solar or lunar cycles in the way we understand them. It was a continuous count of 20-day signs combined with the numbers 1 through 13. Every day had a unique combination, like 1 crocodile or 7 flower, and each combination carried a specific energy, a destiny influenced by the deities associated with that particular day sign and number. Tonatiuh's influence permeated this calendar. His presence was felt in the energy of certain days, often those associated with movement or fire, reflecting his own dynamic and fiery nature. The Aztecs believed the sun's position in the sky and its divine energy on any given day impacted the outcome of activities, the personality of someone born on that day, and the favor of the gods. Priests and diviners, highly skilled in interpreting the Tlaloc, used the calendar as a tool for divination. They would consult it before undertaking important actions, a journey, a marriage, a battle, to determine if the day's energy was favorable, if Tonatiuh and other relevant deities were in alignment. It was like having a cosmic weather forecast that guided daily life and major decisions. Certain periods within the Tlaloc were considered particularly auspicious or dangerous, and Tonatiuh's connection to these periods heightened their significance. His energy could bless an endeavor or, if the signs were unfavorable, warn against it. The Tlaloc wasn't a static chart. It was seen as a living entity, a repository of divine will and cosmic patterns. The sun god's energy flowed through its intricate cycles, making the calendar a direct link between the human world and the divine forces that governed it. By understanding the calendar and Tonatiuh's place within it, the Aztecs sought to live in harmony with the cosmos, increasing their chances of success and appeasing the gods. The complex symbols and patterns on the calendar stone, while primarily representing the larger cycles, also contained glyphs and day signs that were fundamental to the Tlaloc, showing how deeply integrated the solar deity was with their day-to-day understanding of time and destiny. Where does Tonatiuh begin his daily journey? For the Aztecs, the answer held profound meaning: the east. This wasn't just a geographical direction. It was a sacred space, the direction of sunrise, the place where the world was constantly renewed. In Aztec cosmology, the East, or Tlalocan in some contexts, was deeply associated with origin, with birth, and with the start of all cycles. Think about it, every new day, every new beginning is marked by the sun emerging from the eastern horizon. This natural phenomenon was imbued with immense spiritual significance. It was seen as the birthplace of the sun, the point from which life and light flowed into the world. Because of this vital connection to sunrise and renewal, the East held a place of immense importance in Aztec religious practice. Many of their most significant temples and ceremonial structures were meticulously oriented towards the East. This wasn't accidental. It was a deliberate architectural choice designed to align sacred spaces with the path of the rising sun. Priests and worshippers would face east during rituals, offering prayers and sacrifices towards the direction from which Tonatiuh emerged, hoping to harness the potent energy of dawn and ensure the sun's successful ascent into the sky. These eastward-facing temples and rituals were more than just acts of reverence for the sun god. They were expressions of a deep-seated belief in the power of new beginnings. Every sunrise was a cosmic reset, a chance for the world to be refreshed and reborn. By honoring the East, the Aztecs were acknowledging this cyclical nature of existence and actively participating in the process of renewal. It was about inviting the blessings of the morning sun, hoping for a day filled with light, warmth, and the promise of continuation. The East, therefore, wasn't just where the sun appeared. It was the symbolic doorway to a new cycle, a direction filled with hope and the potent energy of creation, directly overseen by the daily emergence of Tonatiuh. But the Aztec heavens weren't always a harmonious place, even with a sun god like Tonatiuh. Imagine a divine soap opera playing out across the cosmos, where powerful gods constantly jostled for power, influence, and control over creation's destiny. While Tonatiuh held his crucial role as the fifth sun, understanding the broader dynamics of the Aztec pantheon is key. For instance, the intense, often bitter rivalry between Tezcatlipoca, the smoking mirror, and Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent, wasn't just a personal squabble. It was a cosmic struggle that directly shaped the outcomes of the previous suns. Remember how Tezcatlipoca devoured the giants in the first sun and Quetzalcoatl's wind ended the second. These weren't just random cataclysms, they were, in part, manifestations of this ongoing divine conflict. Tezcatlipoca, representing material power, sorcery, and the unpredictable night, often sought to undermine Quetzalcoatl, who embodied spiritual knowledge, light, and order. Their battles weren't fought with physical weapons alone. They used trickery, magic, and manipulation, each deity trying to assert dominance and impose their vision on the world. One famous myth recounts how Tezcatlipoca, through cunning and deceit, tricked Quetzalcoatl into becoming intoxicated, leading to a lapse in judgment that forced the feathered serpent into exile. This act of trickery had profound consequences, illustrating how divine conflicts directly impacted the fate of the world and its inhabitants. It wasn't just about who was the strongest god, it was about who was the most cunning, the most influential, and whose cosmic energy would dominate the current age. The very cycles of creation and destruction, the rise and fall of the different suns, can be seen as the ultimate expression of these divine power struggles. Each sun rose under the dominion of a different deity or pair of deities, and its inevitable demise was often linked directly or indirectly to the unresolved tensions and conflicts within the pantheon. The Aztecs understood that their world was not a static creation but a dynamic, often tumultuous arena where divine wills clashed, and the outcomes of those celestial battles had very real consequences for life on Earth. So we've explored the power struggles between gods like Tezcatlipoca and Quetzalcoatl, and seen how Tonatiuh rose to become our current sun. But what about the connection between Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent, and the fiery Tonatiuh? At first glance, they seem like opposites. Quetzalcoatl, the god of wind, knowledge, and light, and Tonatiuh, the scorching sun god demanding sacrifice. Yet, their stories in Aztec mythology are often intertwined, revealing a more complex relationship than simple opposition. You see, while Tonatiuh is the current sun, Quetzalcoatl was the sun during the Second Age, the sun of wind. This shared history as a solar deity creates an immediate link between them, placing both within the grand cosmic cycle of creation and destruction. Even after his reign as the sun ended, Quetzalcoatl remained a powerful force in the cosmos, often acting as a counterpoint or even a collaborator with the other gods. Consider their symbolic representations. Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent, combines the earth-bound serpent with the sky-reaching feathers, representing movement between realms and the breath of life. Tonatiuh, on the other hand, is pure celestial fire and movement, a warrior traversing the sky. While their core symbols differ, wind and feathers for one, fire and light for the other, both are intrinsically linked to the sky and to life itself, though in different forms. Quetzalcoatl brings the gentle breeze and the fertile rains as a rain god sometimes connected to Tlaloc, while Tonatiuh brings the scorching heat and the illuminating light necessary for growth. One could argue that they represent two sides of the same life-giving coin: the nurturing atmospheric forces and the intense solar energy. Their interactions in myth are fascinating. While they were bitter rivals during the earlier ages, especially when it came to the tricky maneuvers of Tezcatlipoca, there are some myths that suggest a degree of cooperation or influence even after the second sun ended. Quetzalcoatl, as a god of wisdom and order, might be seen as a force that helps maintain the balance of the cosmos, indirectly supporting the stability of the fifth sun. His role as the morning star, Venus, which precedes the sun in the sky, could also be interpreted as a herald to Tonatiuh's arrival, a celestial bridge between the light of the past and the light of the present. So, while they are distinct figures with different domains, their historical roles as suns and their interconnected symbols reveal a deeper connection in the intricate tapestry of Aztec divine relations. Okay, so we've seen how the gods fought amongst themselves and how Tonatiuh became the sun. But who were the other major players that directly impacted daily life? Let's turn our attention to a deity absolutely essential to the Aztec people, Tlaloc, the god of rain. If Tonatiuh was the source of light and warmth, Tlaloc was the source of water, and in a society built on agriculture, particularly maize cultivation, you simply couldn't survive without rain. Think about it: the sun brings the energy, but the rain brings the lifeblood that allows crops to grow. So, while Tonatiuh reigned in the sky, Tlaloc held dominion over the clouds, the rivers, the lakes, and the precious water that nourished the earth. Their relationship wasn't just about separate domains. It was a divine partnership, a delicate balance between two incredibly powerful natural forces that were absolutely critical for the thriving of the Aztec world. Just as too little sun meant stunted growth, too little rain meant drought and famine. Too much sun could scorch the earth, and too much rain from Tlaloc could bring devastating floods. In Aztec mythology, Tonatiuh and Tlaloc are often depicted as existing in a necessary, though sometimes tense, equilibrium. One couldn't fully function without the other. The sun's heat draws moisture into the sky, creating the clouds that Tlaloc then fills with rain. The rain nourishes the earth, allowing plants to grow that absorb the sun's energy. It's a cosmic dance of evaporation and precipitation, a fundamental cycle that the Aztecs understood intuitively and personified through these two deities. There aren't many myths where Tonatiuh and Tlaloc directly interact in a dramatic sense, like the rivalries between other gods. Their relationship is more about the interplay of the forces they represent. For example, lightning, often seen as Tlaloc's weapon or tool, might be interpreted as fire from the sky, connecting the realms of rain and sun in a volatile display of power. Hailstorms could be seen as a moment when the elements held by both gods collide: icy water from Tlaloc, perhaps intensified by the atmospheric energy influenced by Tonatiuh. The Aztecs revered both gods deeply, building twin temples atop the Templo Mayor in Tenochtitlan, one for Tlaloc and one for Huitzilopochtli, the god of war and the sun's companion, but effectively honoring the solar principle alongside the rain god. Offerings were made to both, acknowledging their vital, interconnected roles. Success in agriculture, the very foundation of their society, depended on keeping both Tonatiuh shining and Tlaloc providing his life-giving water. Their myths and rituals surrounding these two deities reveal a profound understanding of natural processes translated into divine terms, highlighting the Aztec reverence for the forces of nature and their constant struggle to maintain balance in a world dependent on the unpredictable interplay of sun and rain. Stepping away from the immediate divine rivalries, let's ground ourselves for a moment, quite literally, in the earth itself. In the Aztec pantheon, the earth was not just soil and rock. It was a living, breathing entity, often personified as a powerful goddess. One of the most significant of these earth goddesses is Chalchiuhtlicue, whose name means she of the serpent skirt. Imagine a deity both terrifying and nurturing, adorned with symbols of death and life, snakes, skulls, but also flowers and vegetation. She embodies the duality of the earth, the giver of life through its fertility and the taker of life that eventually reclaims all. Chalchiuhtlicue is often depicted as the mother of many important Aztec deities, including Teotihuacan, the god of war and the sun's companion. This maternal role immediately links her to the very origins of the divine forces that shape the cosmos, including those intimately connected to the sun. Now, how does the fiery Tonatiuh high in the sky relate to the grounded power of Chalchiuhtlicue, the Earth Mother? Their connection is absolutely fundamental for the existence of life. Think about it. The earth provides the soil, the nutrients, and the physical space for plants, animals, and humans to live. But none of that life is possible without the sun's energy. Tonatiuh provides the warmth, the light, and the solar energy that makes things grow, that drives photosynthesis that allows life to flourish on the surface of the earth. The earth provides the substance, the sun provides the energy. It's a cosmic partnership, a divine dependency. Myths often illustrate this interconnectedness, portraying Chalchiuhtlicue as longing for the sun's warmth to make her fertile, or showing Tonatiuh's rays penetrating the earth to awaken seeds and coax forth life. The growth of maize, the staple crop of the Aztec civilization, was seen as a direct result of the benevolent interaction between the sun's power and the earth's fertility, a tangible manifestation of the divine union of Tonatiuh and Chalchiuhtlicue. This relationship highlights a crucial aspect of Aztec belief, the interconnectedness of all divine forces. While we've discussed individual gods and their roles, they didn't operate in isolation. The power of the sun wasn't effective without the receptive and nurturing energy of the earth. The rain from Tlaloc was needed, but it wouldn't bring life if the sun didn't help warm the soil and drive growth. The wind from Quetzalcoatl scattered seeds that needed both sun and earth to germinate. The dynamic rivalries and conflicts existed, but beneath them lay a fundamental understanding that the cosmos functioned as a complex system, with each deity playing a vital, often interdependent, role in maintaining the delicate balance necessary for life to continue under the fifth sun. The terrifying beauty of Chalchiuhtlicue, with a mixture of death and life symbols, serves as a constant reminder that the earth is the foundation upon which the sun's power acts, and that fertility and decay are two sides of the same cosmic coin, forever linked by the cycle of existence driven by the sun's energy. So, what did Tonatiuh actually look like to the Aztecs? When you examine their ancient texts and artwork known as codices, a powerful image emerges. Tonatiuh is almost always depicted with a fiery intensity, his face radiating light, often shown with rays extending outward like sunbeams. His skin might be painted red or adorned with gold, symbolizing the blazing heat of the sun. He's a warrior god, and his iconography reflects that. You often see him holding a shield representing protection and arrows or darts, symbolizing his power and the sun's penetrating rays that provide life but also bring heat. His eyes are often depicted as round and staring, fixed on the world below, a watchful, ever-present deity. One of the most striking features is often his extended tongue or a sacrificial knife protruding from his mouth, a direct visual reference to the need for offerings to sustain him. Tonatiuh's connection to the eagle is profound and visually represented throughout Aztec art. The eagle wasn't just any bird, it was seen as the noble creature that soared highest, closest to the sun. The Aztecs believed the eagle was the sun's companion, accompanying it on its daily journey across the sky, carrying it from dawn till dusk. This association linked the power and majesty of the eagle to the divine might of Tonatiuh. You'll frequently find eagles depicted alongside the sun disk or as symbols on objects associated with the sun god. This visual pairing reinforced the idea of the sun's powerful flight and its dominance over the celestial realm. Beyond the fire and the eagle, other symbols are deeply intertwined with Tonatiuh. The butterfly, often seen fluttering in sun-drenched gardens, was another creature linked to the sun, perhaps symbolizing transformation, warmth, and the fleeting beauty of sunlit life. Quetzal feathers, vibrant and iridescent green, were highly prized and associated with divine beings and royalty. Their connection to Tonatiuh might represent his elevated status, his beauty, and the preciousness of the light he provides. Think of the dazzling colors of a Quetzal against a bright sky, a perfect visual echo of the sun's brilliance. These symbols weren't just decorative, they were packed with meaning, offering insights into the Aztec perception of Tonatiuh's nature, his power, and his vital role in their cosmos. Every feather, every color, every accompanying creature told a part of the story of the fiery god who held their world in his hands. To the Aztecs, the sun wasn't just a passive ball of light in the sky. Oh no, it was a fierce, relentless warrior, locked in an eternal battle against the forces of darkness that threatened to engulf the cosmos. Think of Tonatiuh as the ultimate cosmic soldier, armed and ready for combat from the moment he rose in the east. Aztec mythology is filled with imagery depicting the sun god ready for war. You see him in codices and sculptures, often equipped with a shield, a symbol of his defensive power against the encroaching night. He's also frequently shown holding arrows or darts, representing his piercing rays that defeat shadow and penetrate the world, bringing life and light. These weren't just symbolic weapons, they were the tools of a deity constantly engaged in a cosmic struggle. His daily journey across the sky was viewed as a perilous campaign. From dawn, when he fought his way out of the underworld, through the day as he battled celestial monsters or the lingering shadows of night, to dusk when he descended back into the dangerous realm of Mictlan, his existence was a continuous fight. This perception of the sun as a warrior deeply influenced the Aztec worldview, particularly their understanding of why human sacrifice was necessary. They believed that this cosmic battle required the sun's energy, its Teotihuacan, to be constantly replenished. They weren't just making offerings, they were providing fuel for the fight, sustenance for the celestial warrior. The hearts and blood given in sacrifice were seen as the most potent forms of this divine energy, necessary to empower Tonatiuh for his daily struggle, ensuring he would not succumb to the forces of darkness and that our world, the fifth sun, would endure. Every sunrise was proof of his victory, a new day won through divine combat and human support. Now, if the sun was a warrior in the sky, what earthly substance did the Aztecs most closely associate with its divine power and brilliance? That would be gold. For the Aztecs, gold was far more than just a shiny metal. It was considered the excrement of the gods, a divine substance left behind by the deities themselves. And of all the gods, gold was most intimately linked to Tonatiuh, the sun god. Imagine sunlight solidified, captured in a tangible form. That's how the Aztecs saw gold, the crystallized radiance, the very essence of the sun's power and beauty brought down to earth. Its natural luster and brilliant yellow hue perfectly mirrored the sun's glow. This wasn't just a symbolic connection, it was seen as a literal extension of the divine. Because of this profound association, gold held immense cultural and religious significance far beyond its material worth. While Europeans would later seek Aztec gold for its economic value, the Aztecs prized it primarily for its spiritual properties and its connection to the divine. Its use was heavily restricted, primarily reserved for religious objects, priestly adornments, and the regalia of rulers, who were seen as mediators between the human world and the gods, particularly the sun god. Think of the dazzling gold masks, pendants, and ornaments found in Aztec burials and temple caches. These weren't mere decorations, they were sacred objects designed to honor Tonatiuh, to channel his energy, and to reflect his divine glory during rituals and ceremonies. Priests officiating in solar cults would wear gold jewelry, physically embodying the sun's power through their adornment. Gold objects were placed in temples dedicated to Tonatiuh or used in rituals involving the sun god, serving as tangible offerings of solidified sunlight, a return of divine essence to its source. This cultural significance meant that gold was not a form of currency in the Aztec world in the way it was in Europe. It was a sacred resource, a gift from the gods, to be used in ways that honored the divine forces that sustained their existence. Their perception of gold tells us so much about their world view that the material world was deeply intertwined with the spiritual, and that even something as seemingly simple as a metal could be a reflection of the cosmos and its most powerful deity. The brilliance of gold in Aztec art is a direct echo of the brilliance they saw in the sky, a shimmering tribute to the fiery heart of their universe. If gold shimmering like solidified sunlight symbolized Tonatiuh's divine presence, then the vibrant green of growing maize was the ultimate proof of his power on earth. Think about it, agriculture was the absolute bedrock of Aztec society. They were farmers cultivating maize, beans, squash, and other vital crops that fed their vast population and supported their complex civilization. Without successful harvests, there was no food, no tribute, no stability, and agriculture at its core depends utterly on the sun. Tonatiuh's energy, his light and warmth, was the engine that drove growth, allowing seeds to sprout, plants to photosynthesize, and crops to mature. Farmers watched the sky with deep understanding, recognizing the sun's position and intensity throughout the day and across the seasons as crucial indicators for planting, tending, and harvesting. Their lives were intrinsically linked to the solar cycles Tonatiuh commanded. Because of this direct reliance, Tonatiuh wasn't just a distant celestial warrior. He was a deity whose favor directly impacted their daily sustenance. A strong, consistent sun meant healthy crops and a good yield. A weak sun or too much cloud cover could spell disaster. This is where the cosmic need for sacrifice connected so profoundly to the earthly needs of the farmer. The Aztecs believed that by nourishing Tonatiuh with human blood and hearts, they were ensuring he had the strength to make his daily journey, to fight off darkness, and crucially, to provide the vital solar energy needed for their fields. Offerings, sometimes including precious items but also symbolic gestures related to farming, would have been made to Tonatiuh or deities closely associated with him in agricultural contexts, hoping to guarantee a bountiful harvest. The success of their crops was seen as a direct reflection of the sun god's power and the efficacy of their efforts to sustain him. The cyclical nature of farming, planting, growth, harvest, and renewal perfectly mirrored the cosmic cycles of creation and destruction governed by the sun. The farmer tilling the soil and planting seeds was, in a sense, participating in a smaller, earthly version of the divine act of creation, utterly dependent on the greater cosmic forces embodied by Tonatiuh and the Earth Mother. So, we've talked about the fiery god Tonatiuh and his crucial role as our sun. But to truly understand his significance, we need to zoom out for a moment and grasp a core Aztec concept: time wasn't linear. It wasn't a straight line moving endlessly forward like we often think of it today. Instead, the Aztecs saw time as cyclical, a series of great ages defined by creation, flourishing, destruction, and then rebirth. And the five suns, the very framework we've been exploring, are the perfect embodiment of this worldview. Each sun, each era, was a distinct cycle with its own unique characteristics, its own ruling deity, and its own predetermined end. Tonatiuh's reign, our current age, the fifth sun, is just one turn of this cosmic wheel. It exists, it provides life, but it too is destined to end, giving way, theoretically at least, to a new beginning. This constant turning, this pattern of death and rebirth, was fundamental to how the Aztecs perceived reality. Their history wasn't just a list of events, it was a series of cycles, each echoing the rise and fall of the suns. They looked back at the previous ages, the Age of Jaguars, the Age of Wind, the Age of Rain of Fire, and the Age of Water, not just as ancient history but as cautionary tales, reminders of the impermanence of existence and the cyclical nature of divine power. This understanding of cyclical time deeply influenced their sense of destiny. The end of the fifth sun wasn't a possibility, It was a prophecy, an inevitable future written into the very fabric of the cosmos. Living with this awareness meant their present was always framed by the past cycles and the fated future. It gave their actions, particularly their efforts to sustain Tonatiuh, a profound sense of urgency and cosmic importance. They weren't just living day to day, they were navigating a specific point on a grand, recurring timeline, their place in the cosmos defined by their role within the fifth sun. So, after immersing ourselves in the ancient tales of Tonatiuh and the five suns, what happens to these powerful myths in the modern world? It's fascinating to see how these stories, born in a pre-Columbian civilization, still resonate today, particularly in Mexico. The legacy of Tonatiuh and the cyclical ages isn't just confined to history books or museum exhibits. It's woven into the fabric of modern Mexican culture and identity. Think about the Aztec calendar stone itself, the Piedra del Sol, with Tonatiuh's face at its center. It's become a national symbol, appearing on everything from currency to artwork, a constant visual reminder of a rich and complex past. These myths provide a vital link to pre-Hispanic heritage, a source of pride and connection to the indigenous roots of Mexico. They offer a narrative of deep history, resilience, and a unique relationship with the cosmos. For many, understanding these stories is a way of understanding where they come from, a crucial part of their cultural DNA. This isn't just academic historical interest, it's about identity, about recognizing the enduring influence of a civilization that shaped the land and traditions. Beyond cultural identity, these ancient myths continue to be a treasure trove for scholars. Historians, archaeologists, and anthropologists pore over codices, archaeological findings, and early colonial accounts to piece together a more complete picture of Aztec civilization. The myths of Tonatiuh and the five suns are absolutely central to this research. They offer invaluable insights into the Aztec worldview, their religious beliefs, their understanding of the cosmos, their societal structure, and even their political motivations. For example, understanding the necessity of sacrifice to sustain the sun helps explain the scale and ritualistic nature of this practice in Aztec society. Studying the different ends of the previous suns by jaguar, wind, fire, and water reveals symbolic patterns and perhaps even echoes of historical or environmental events that influenced their cyclical conception of time. These stories are not just fantastical tales, they are complex narratives that encode crucial information about the Aztec mind, their relationship with nature, and their fears and hopes for the future. They are a key to unlocking the mysteries of one of history's most fascinating empires. And while these stories are ancient, the themes they explore feel surprisingly relevant in our contemporary world. Think about it, the fear of cosmic destruction, the awareness of fragility, the idea of a world cycle coming to an end. Doesn't that resonate with modern concerns about environmental change, climate shifts, or even the potential for global catastrophe? Just as the Aztecs lived with the prophecy of the fifth sun ending by earthquake, we live with the knowledge that our actions have consequences for the planet's future, that the stability of our world isn't guaranteed. The cyclic nature of the myths, the idea that destruction is often followed by a new, albeit different, creation, can also be seen as a metaphor for resilience and adaptation in the face of change. These stories, though products of a distant past, touch upon universal human anxieties about existence, impermanence, and our place within larger, often unpredictable forces. They remind us that the questions the Aztecs grappled with about the nature of time, the power of the divine, and the fragility of the world are, in many ways, questions we are still asking today, framed through our own modern lens of science and global awareness. The enduring power of the Tonatiuh and Five Suns myths lies in their ability to connect us not just to a specific history, but to timeless human concerns about creation, destruction, and the relentless movement of time. Beyond the grand narratives of cosmic cycles and divine battles, the fifth sun, Tonatiuh's reign, holds countless smaller stories, regional variations, and fascinating glimpses into the everyday relationship between the Aztecs and their solar god. You might have heard of the main events, but what about the lesser-known tales whispered in different corners of the Aztec world? These more obscure myths offer incredibly rich insights into how diverse communities within the empire perceived Tonatiuh and the era they inhabited. For instance, while the core myth of Nanahuatsin's sacrifice at Teotihuacan is paramount, some regional stories might place the event in a slightly different location or emphasize the role of local deities in the proceedings. These variations aren't just historical footnotes. They show how indigenous belief systems adapted and incorporated the dominant Aztec myths, creating unique local flavors of the grand narrative. Consider the tales of specific interactions between Tonatiuh or his representatives and minor gods, or even legendary human figures. These aren't about world-ending events, but might focus on a localized drought broken by a farmer's specific prayer to Tonatiuh, or a warrior seeking a personal blessing from the sun god before a minor skirmish. These micro-myths provide a more intimate look at the human experience within the fifth sun, highlighting the personal connection individuals felt to the powerful forces shaping their lives. They remind us that mythology wasn't just about abstract cosmic principles. It was about everyday concerns, hopes, and fears played out against the backdrop of a divine universe. Digging into these less prominent stories is like finding hidden gems, revealing the intricate tapestry of Aztec belief beyond the headline myths, showing a sun god who was not just a distant celestial power, but a deity whose influence touched every village and individual life. So, after all these cycles of creation and destruction, where does that leave us, here in the fifth sun, under the watchful eye of Tonatiuh? Well, the Aztecs weren't shy about predicting the future, and their prophecy for our current age is both dramatic and perhaps a touch unsettling. According to Aztec belief, the fifth sun, Noy Olan, is fated to end, not by fire, wind, or water, but by a cataclysm of shaking earth, massive, world-ending earthquakes. Imagine the ground beneath your feet opening up, mountains crumbling, and cities reduced to dust. This vision of destruction by seismic activity is deeply ingrained in the myths and is a constant undercurrent to the stories of Tonatiuh's reign. The name Olan, meaning movement, isn't just about the sun's journey. It's a direct reference to the very force that sustains and will ultimately shatter this age. The glyph for this sun often includes 4 smaller glyphs representing the previous 4 suns, arranged around a central figure, sometimes interpreted as a symbol of movement or earthquake, signifying that the forces that ended the past cycles are contained within our current one, waiting to be unleashed in a cataclysmic shake. This wasn't a distant, abstract prophecy. It was a tangible fear, a future that the Aztecs accepted as inevitable. Living with this knowledge infused their world with a sense of urgency and cosmic responsibility. Every day the sun rose was another day won against the inevitable, another day they had successfully fended off the prophesied end. This backdrop of impending seismic doom profoundly influenced their daily lives and significantly their religious practices. It fueled their intense efforts to appease the gods, particularly Tonatiuh. Why the sacrifices? Why the elaborate rituals? In part, it was an attempt to delay the inevitable, to strengthen the sun god and the other deities who held the fate of the world in their hands. They were trying to give the cosmos the energy it needed to keep the earth from trembling, to prolong the life of the fifth sun for as long as possible. This wasn't about preventing the end entirely. It was about pushing it back, buying time for their civilization to flourish. This brings us to the broader concept of cosmic destiny in the Aztec worldview. They didn't believe in linear progress towards a perfect future. Instead, they saw history as a series of predetermined cycles, each destined to end in destruction before a new one could potentially begin. This acceptance of cyclical destruction might seem fatalistic to us, but for the Aztecs, it was simply the nature of the cosmos. Their myths weren't just stories of the past. They were blueprints for the future, revealing the patterns of creation and dissolution that governed all existence. The end of the fifth sun by earthquake wasn't a punishment. It was just the next step in the cosmic dance, the fated conclusion to this particular era. This doesn't mean they were passive in the face of destiny. Their constant efforts to sustain the sun and appease the gods show a strong sense of agency within that predetermined framework. They couldn't change the ultimate outcome, but they could influence the timing. They could play their part in the grand cosmic drama. It's a powerful reminder that even when faced with an inevitable end, there is still meaning and purpose in the struggle, in the daily act of living and contributing to the energy of the world. The Aztec belief in the end of the fifth sun by earthquakes isn't just a fascinating piece of ancient mythology. It's a profound statement about the cyclical nature of time, the fragility of existence, and the human drive to find meaning and exert influence, even in the face of a predetermined cosmic destiny. And so, as our fiery journey through the Aztec cosmos draws to a close, we've navigated the incredible saga of Tonatiuh and the five suns, from the terrifying jaguars that devoured the first sun to the dynamic yet precarious movement of our current age, the fifth sun. We've witnessed the pivotal role of sacrifice, understanding it not just as ritual, but as a cosmic necessity to fuel the sun and sustain creation. We've delved into the complex relationships between the Aztec deities, seeing how their rivalries and collaborations shaped the very fabric of existence. And we've felt the deep connection the Aztecs had to the natural world, personifying its powerful forces in gods like Tonatiuh, Tlaloc, and Chalchiuhtlicue. These weren't merely fantastical tales. They were the foundation of a sophisticated worldview, a framework for understanding creation, embracing the inevitability of destruction, and navigating the delicate, often volatile, balance of the cosmos. These ancient narratives offer us a profound window into a civilization that peered into the heart of existence and wrestled with some of the most fundamental questions of life and destiny. Thinking back on these epic cycles and powerful deities, which of these vivid tales resonated with you most deeply? Was it the tragic end of the Age of Giants, the transformation of the second sun's people into monkeys, the fiery reign of the third sun, the great flood of the fourth, or the dramatic self-sacrifice that gave birth to our own sun? I'd genuinely love to hear your thoughts and what aspects of these stories captured your imagination the most. Drop a comment below and share your favorite tale. If you found this deep dive into Aztec mythology as fascinating as I did, please give the video a thumbs up. It really helps the channel. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you don't miss our future explorations into the incredible mysteries of the ancient world. Thank you for joining me on this journey into the heart of the Aztec sun. Until we meet again, keep your eyes on the sky and remember the vibrant, powerful stories held within the light of the sun. Now, as we wrap up our journey through these incredible Aztec tales, let's take one last moment to look back at that magnificent creation we mentioned earlier, the sun stone, the Piedra del Sol. Remember its central face, the depiction of Tonatiuh himself, surrounded by the glyphs of the four previous suns. This stone is more than just an artifact. It's a visual summary, a condensed map of everything we've explored today. It stands as a powerful testament to the Aztec understanding of time, sacrifice, and the cyclical nature of the cosmos. Every line, every symbol etched into its surface tells a part of this grand narrative, from the devastating ends of past ages to the dynamic energy of our own fifth sun. If you have a moment after this video, I truly encourage you to seek out images of the sun stone online. Zoom in on the intricate details around Tonatiuh's face, trace the paths of the symbols representing the days and the earlier suns. It's a breathtaking piece of art, but also a profound philosophical statement expressed in stone, a tangible link to a civilization that saw the universe as a constant, recurring drama. As you look at it, think about the stories we've shared, the The proud god who hesitated, the humble god who sacrificed everything, the worlds ended by jaguar, wind, fire, and water, and our own world, balanced precariously on the edge of movement and the potential for seismic change, all held within the gaze of the sun god. The Sunstone is a powerful reminder that these myths aren't just ancient history. They are echoes of fundamental questions about existence, cycles, and destiny. It's a piece of the past that continues to shine a light on a remarkable culture's understanding of its place in the cosmos, forever tied to the life-giving, powerful, and sometimes terrifying force of the sun.